entity that is pushing us towards a way of life. Now the next one is the military industrial complex system, whatever you want to call it. This is the system that ensures that we're in wars. And it didn't. I think after Vietnam there was a lull. Think about it. Like we just got done in World War II fighting this huge campaign. Then a few years later, we hop into Korea. Then a few years later, we're hopping into Vietnam. And I think public appetite for war really dwindled after that. They could only push so far. Then in the 80s, it was about the Russians. We're nearing the end of the Cold War. We got to arm. And I mean, we need to defend our country. There's not going to question that. But right now, you think about defense, our southern border is completely open. But we're sending our troops overseas. We have no idea who's pouring into this country. But we're sending troops overseas to fight for our freedoms. So what opened my eyes to the military-industrial complex, and one of the reasons why I was a Democrat for a few years after my time in Iraq, was just the absurdity of it all. I was assigned to the hospital in Baghdad, and this was 2004. We had to, we were on the road probably 4 times a week. Back then the supply lines weren't great. Then you start talking to these contractors, guys driving forklift. Keep in mind, this is 2004. That's 20 years ago. That's didn't even think about that. 20 years ago, they're making 10, 11, 12 grand a month driving forklift for Kellogg Brown Root. Cooks making the same amount of money. I was an officer. I was a captain. With all the tax exempt stuff, combat pay, all of that, I was making $5,000 a month. So my guys are probably making $3,500, maybe $4,000. So a forklift driver for Kellogg Brown Root doesn't have to put himself in harm's way. Makes 3 to 4 times more than the infantryman knocking down doors, going after the bad guys. Makes sense to me. A cook for Kellogg Brown Root. Granted, gotta have food, right? Making 3-4 times what your boots on the ground soldiers making. And those are, I say this with all respect, those are the lower skilled jobs. So what do you think a Blackwater guy is making? Probably 15 grand a month. What do you think those supervisors are making? The administrators. Oh, and by the way, they got to go home every 3 months for a week. Not a bad gig. Not a bad gig. So you start putting 2 and 2 together. You start to question, is this whole thing part of it? about people getting rich off the lives of dead soldiers. I don't know. I think it's part of it. I got a car coming. Oh no. Turning. It is really icy. Sorry for the sidebar, probably can't see that. I'm trying to walk on the side of the road as best as I can here. But yeah, and then you think about, let's just go back to the first incursion there, Afghanistan. I was in Kuwait in 2002 when 10th Mountain was rolling up in Afghanistan. I wasn't with 10th Mountain. I just happened to be there. Actually ran into a guy I played high school baseball with there. That was pretty interesting. But yeah, you know, we're rolling in Afghanistan. We're going into Iraq. But 18 of the 20 hijackers were Saudi Arabian. Oh, they're weapons of mass destruction. Okay, well, a lot of countries have weapons of mass destruction. It's a very broad term to begin with. If you listen to the media today, an AR-15 is a weapon of mass destruction. So, excuse me. I was very polite on camera. But so why are we in Iraq? Why are we in Afghanistan? That's a good question. Part of it is a lot of money to be made in war. A lot of money. If you can get the public behind it with a terrorist attack, you can see there's a lot of power, a lot of money. Look at what, do a little digging. Probably can't use Google. Do a little digging on the powers that Abe Lincoln gave to himself during the Civil War, or maybe better term, the War of Northern Aggression. And I'm not a Southerner, as you can see by this landscape. It's also not a pass on the South. There's a YouTube channel called The Rageaholic. Got a lot of language. He likes the F word, but his historical stuff is great. And he said something interesting. He said, I don't have to pretend that the South are the good guys to show what a tyrant Abe Lincoln was. It's a good point. I think I've fallen into that trap. I try to defend the South on everything. Because while the Civil War, or the War of Northern Aggression, was about Southern secession, Southern secession was in part about slavery and states' rights. So, anyways, another sidebar. Sorry, I always go on those. But yeah, look at all the powers that Abe Lincoln amassed during that time. Tyrants love war. War diverts from the issues at home. War is a great reason to not have election. Ukraine. War is a great reason to get the money printers fired up. War is a great reason to suspend civil liberties. And the public will go along with it, and if you dissent, well, then you're part of the problem. And here's a lovely cell for you. So the military-industrial complex, another one of the systems that our tax dollars fund. You know, I can't remember how many countries we're in anymore. It's a lot. When you look at being $32 trillion in debt. Why are we in all these countries? We really want to support the troops. Bring them home. No more foreign wars. It's sad that we have a VFW. How did Vietnam make us free? How did Korea make us free? Oh, the spread of communism. Communism was spread. Communism fails everywhere it goes. I was talking to a guy at work about his military career and the time he spent in Afghanistan. I asked him, this was yesterday, hey, how did that feel for you, seeing Afghanistan just abandoned like that after you spent all that time there? It hurts. It's a big pain. I think about the people that died. I think about my emotional trauma, my mental trauma, and now it's right back where it started. So, what was the point of it all? Well, what did we get out of 9/11? Got the TSA. We got to soup up the military. A lot of people made a lot of money. We helped Israel. 4-letter word, I guess, there. Meanwhile, we're less free, more in debt, more enslaved. And some of our best and brightest are men, the men that we need if we're ever in a situation that we need them. A lot of them are broken. And then their children are impacted by that. So, military-industrial complex takes a lot of resources. We beat our plows into swords. Swords are weapons of destruction. Plows are weapons of productivity. There's a time and place to beat your plow into a sword. Don't get me wrong. I think in America, not too often, give away our vital resources. Mainly our good men and women. So, hope that gives you a little bit different perspective. Trying to figure out how to hold this camera while I'm rucking. I don't have a lot of time between family commitments, jiu-jitsu, and work. Just, this is the time, and it's been on my heart to talk about some of my thoughts. Not that I have all the answers, but like I said, for a while there, I was a Democrat. If it wasn't for people, and this isn't about Republican and Democrat, I think they're both trash, by the way. But I was maybe a better word was I was a statist. Because of, I just wanted to run away from the Republican Party as fast as possible. But if people hadn't spoke truth in my life, I'd probably be calling for people who didn't take the medicine to be jailed, imprisoned. But people spoke truth in my life, and my eyes were open. So I just want to do the same for others. It's hard out there. The propaganda machine is 24/7, and this was back in 2004, 2005. I mean, it's much worse now. So that's the intent behind this. I don't pretend to have all the answers. I'm not the smartest guy. I don't have all the facts that I can bring to you. Just experiences and questions and things to look up. Start digging in. Just don't use Google. Don't use Google. All right, have a great day.